Well, what a video I've got for you today. Now, this is an interview with one of my students, George. He's been with me for a while now, and he's just, well, by the time this video is actually launched, he'll have $200,000 in assets under management. That's $200,000 worth of funded accounts. In this video, we essentially talk about his journey leading up to him essentially now becoming a fully funded trader. We talk about how he's just about got his first payout of £6,500 and what his plans are for the future. This is a really, really good one. There's tons of gems in here. So if you're aspiring to be a trader, make sure you listen to this one, take lots of notes, and I'll see you in the next video. So introduce yourself then. Obviously I know you, we've met a few times, but let the people know who are you?
Yeah, cool. So yeah, my name's George. I'm originally from London, but I live in Bournemouth. I'm actually a uni student at the moment, just doing a master's degree in photography. Pretty much like my whole kind of like working life, I've just been in like hospitality and stuff, you know, like done loads of different jobs and that, and you know, it's not for me. I was always kind of interested in like trading or like stock markets and that. I always took a general interest in it, but I never really followed through with it to do anything with it. And then yeah, like the last couple of years, like my interest grew. And I was watching like Instagram stories of like all these people with their, you know, making money from trading and all that. So I started researching it more. You know, got into the silly habit of the old signals, tried that out, lost a load of money, tried it again, lost more money. You know, at the start they like sold it to me, you know, like you're gonna make all this cash. It's not like that at all.
Yeah.
And then obviously I came across your profile, funny enough, from someone that actually lives where I live at the moment in my block. Had your course as well, and he recommended me to you. And then obviously I did a bit of research, and it's the same thing in it. Like I heard someone else say the other day that like you see your stuff on Instagram, you're like, oh, it could be a scam, you know. So, and then in the end I just thought, you know what, it's like it's a little bit of money. If I lose it, I lose it. So that's why I bought your course. And yeah, here we are.
So let's go right back then. So early days, I always like to ask this question to people, like, because getting into trading and like really going full force of trading is such like a different thing to anything else. So like early days, did you have this like entrepreneurial spirit? Were you like looking at ways of making money online, that sort of stuff?
All the time. If it wasn't online, you know, like I was always looking for ways to make extra cash. I've been like that ever since I was young. You know, I've just always wanted to make more money. You know, like for me, the money isn't the goal, it's the freedom. And it's wanting to be able to travel and like do my thing and just be comfortable, you know, like the money comes with the freedom.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. And that's kind of what I was looking at. So I've always kind of been pushing for more, you know.
Yeah, 100%. Very similar to me. Like what sort of things did you is Forex like the first thing you tried, or what different things have you tried leading up to this?
I tried a bit of drop shipping, one for me, you know, like I actually did the same sort of thing you did. I started a clothing brand, you know, didn't go to like work very well. You know, there's so many costs to that. You know, there was at one point I was buying like push bikes and that, and like fixing them up, selling them. You know, like, and lots of other little random things as well. I also used to like buy like antiques and that, and like try and make a quick buck on those. But it's just not like, you know, it's not consistent. And you know, like in this day and age, the markets is just definitely the way forwards.
Yeah, 100%. This is so common. Like everybody I speak to that has had like, whether it's trading or not, like just some level of success, like outside of just like a typical job, they've always done something like just off the cuff, like different types of making money. They're trying to buy and sell things. They're trying to start little companies and little things here and there. But then it ultimately, like if you throw enough shit at the wall, something is eventually going to stick. And then they always end up finding something, and they've like excelled in something. Just because every opportunity they've had is just like, let's just go for it. Let's see if it works.
Yeah, 100% with that one, mate. Definitely.
So leading on then, what was your first steps into trading? Where was that? How did it go? What were you doing? When was it?
So like I said, it was just before COVID. I started like not trading. I was like copying signals and that. I come across some page on Instagram. This lad was like, you know, flashing his cash, nice cars, like follow my stuff, you'll make money. So I started trying that out because, you know, like I said, I always had an interest in trading anyway, or like around that kind of genre. So I got into signals, and I lost a whole load of money, but I knew obviously the lads that were sending these signals out was still making money. So in my head, I was like, well, I may have lost on this, but I want to kind of look into it a bit more and see if I could start like learning how to do it. So I started watching YouTube videos, trying to like teach myself to get some basic knowledge. And I didn't I got a little bit of knowledge, and I just couldn't really grasp it. Like, but I knew I wanted to do it. Like, I still had that kind of drive to learn more. So I started looking for like educational courses. Saw a few. They weren't really of much interest to me. They didn't look very helpful. And then, like I said, someone recommended me to you, and I came across your course, the Forex Kickstarter, and I bought the first one probably about 2 years ago, or just under 2 years ago. I didn't really do a lot.
Early stages of the program.
Yeah, back when we was using everything else, which was good. Like, it took a lot of interest to me, but I had a little dabble in it. I dabbled out, and I wasn't very committed. I wasn't consistent. And then I started getting right into it. I went through the course, started really like getting into it. Still quite inexperienced and all that. And then I went through a stage of like doubting myself, and the mindset was so bad, and every day I was just like, can't do this. So I thought, right, I'm going to take some time out, get my head straight, get all my stuff in order, and then I'm going to come back to it. And I told myself that if I didn't give it one more chance and really knuckle down, then it wasn't for me. And obviously that was like a year and a bit ago, and I've knuckled down and got on with it. So now life's different.
So what do you think was going wrong in like the first stage? Well, what do you think you were not doing right to get the results you wanted to?
I was thinking ahead. So I was already, you've said this many a times actually, and I was like already spending the money that I hadn't made. So, I was always thinking, oh, well, if I make this, I can get this. And if I can get this money, I can go and do that. But actually, if you do that, it just makes it worse. And that's why I had a bad mindset, because I would always set myself up to fail. And I wasn't paying attention to it. And then when I finally realized that actually I only need to see what's in front of me first and take the first step, then the long-term goal will come in time.
Yeah. Well, I always say it, don't I, in the community especially, I say that don't focus on the profits, focus on the process, because the profits are a byproduct of mastering that process.
Exactly.
In your situation, that's obviously where that mindset shift actually occurred, was when you obviously started to see results. Exactly.
It's 100%, man. Like, as soon as I started to not think about what I wanted and thought about how I could do it to get that thing, then that's when I really started to excel or see results. I started learning the strategy. I spent a couple of hours every night just going through the videos. I spent a month or two doing that, and then I started I went on to some trial accounts, and I just kept practicing. I did a lot of back testing, and I'd always spend a couple of hours a night just going through it, spending time, researching it, following your course, always looking in the community. I've pestered you with quite a lot of questions very early in the morning a few times. And then, the more you practice and the more you knuckle down, you do see results, but you just have to stay consistent. And, I think for me, the biggest, if I could say anything to anyone that's going to watch this video, is you need to get your head and your mind space and your mindset right before you do anything.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think just from speaking to a lot of people that have now seen success, the pivotal moment in their career is when they shift from focusing on the money to putting their focus on how to make that money and the process behind generating that money. And then they realize what they have to do to get good at finding what makes the money. And once they forget about the money in the end, everything just falls into place.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd agree with you on that 100%. That's exactly what I did in the end. I just stopped thinking about, I could make this, and just thought, well, I need to do this. I've got to get over this hurdle to get to the next. And I just really refined what I was doing. And obviously the course has helped so much. It's a life-changing thing. Obviously, if I hadn't have bought into your course, then I probably wouldn't be where I am now, or in the position that I'm in now.
Yeah. I mean, you've done so well. I mean, even from the first conversations we had, like if you look back at them, some of the conversations we had, you'd be thinking, what the hell was I going on about at this point?
Yeah.
And then as
Yeah.
soon as you have that shift, it's just like, it's just clarity. Like it goes so quickly once you have that initial breakthrough, everything just falls into place so quick, and then it's just like the results are pretty much there straight away.
Yeah. 100%. I wouldn't think where I was like a year ago to where I am now. You know, like before, I would look at the screen, look at the charts, and I'd just be staring at it, you know, and I'd be like, I just have no idea. I'd be so confused. Whereas now, if I go on the charts, you know, at any point, I'm like, oh, you know, like there's an area to trade from, and I spot everything, and you know, still learning, but I'm in a much better place, you know.
Yeah.
Very fortunate to get to where I am at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, you're obviously doing massively well at the moment. You've got currently $100,000 currently, and you're about to pass your second funding challenge as well. How has that been for you? How has that process been?
Oh, it's been mental, man. You know, it's very exciting, and it's also very hard to kind of get like where I am now from obviously making like, you know, a little bit of money from my job and working. You know, when I was in hospitality, I was doing like 60, 78 hours a week for not a lot of money, just being tired all the time and, you know, miserable, to now like spending a couple of hours in the morning and an hour at night to making, you know, 5, 10, 20% a week, you know. And it's so good. And yeah, obviously I'm on my second funding challenge at the moment, hoping to complete that by next week. And then I'll merge the two together. And then obviously I'm going to stay on that for a while and then see where that takes me.
Yeah. And I want to touch on this a little bit, but obviously you're somewhat experienced with these funded accounts now. Do you think that you would be in the position you are now if it wasn't for funded accounts?
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't be where I am now if they didn't have these funding challenges. You know, I had a little bit of money saved and I did put it into an account, and I actually blew nearly all of it because I wasn't ready, but I wanted to get on with it. And you know, I bought quite a few challenges as well. Well, not loads, but I bought like 3 or 4 before obviously I got consistent and good, which I shouldn't have done. But I learned the hard way, and that hard way has obviously taught me to get to where I am now. And yeah, for sure, if I hadn't done this challenge or had these funded accounts, then I wouldn't be in any position that I'm in now, for sure.
Yeah. I still can't believe that these sorts of things are now available to the trading world. Like even like 2 years ago when you started, these sorts of things weren't really that accessible. Like the doors that these types of accounts have opened are massive. Like people like yourself, I mean, it would have probably been pretty difficult for you to even consider going full-time trading back then, even with the skill set you've got. But now, because we're able to leverage that skill set with a funded account, replacing your income and going full-time is like, it's just within touching distance, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd 100% agree that. And like you said, obviously when I first joined, I hadn't even heard of the FDMA or like my Forex funds. Didn't even know you could do that. You know, my process, in my head, I was like, oh, it's going to take quite a while to build up to where I want to be. You know, I didn't want to work anymore. Just wanted to like live that lifestyle. And yeah, obviously now, in the last like 6-7 months, you know, that's possible to do.
Yeah.
And if I could say anything to like anyone, is don't just jump into it straight away and think you're ready. Like really make sure that you've refined your process and get consistent first and learn the process before you do take a challenge.
100%. And then I think people want to see them again. It all sort of spirals into the same sort of issue. You get consistent to some degree, and then you just focus on, and then you just think, okay, well, I'll get this funded account, I'll make money. But again, it's another process. It's another step forward that you have to consider. You don't want to do it too soon, because it's just another mindset game that, okay, you go fail a challenge, you don't pass it, because you're getting so caught up in the profits you could make, you do it slightly too early. So you have to like go through that process of passing a few trials, making sure you're consistent, making sure that you 100% know exactly what you're doing, and you'll know when you're ready. And then you can go and smash it, and you get those funded accounts, and that's when things actually take off.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly that. You know, I obviously, when I paid for some of these challenges at the start, it's just because I was too keen. And then I think in my head, I had a little bit of arrogance about it, because I was like, oh, I'm doing it now, I'm going to get here.
Yeah.
And when I blew that first challenge, that really made me understand that it's not actually that easy, and you do have to like refine everything and just stay positive about it first. And exactly what you said, just be consistent with it.
Yeah, I think there's sort of like 3 stages. Like the initial stage of learning is, of course, everybody knows that you've got to understand the concepts and so on and so forth. You've then got to sort of build that process of being able to make money consistently, and then once you've mastered that process, you've then got to sort of build your trading plan so that you can leverage that process and actually generate an income from it. It's sort of like 3 stages, and a lot of people jump building that plan. They don't build a trading plan, so they don't really have any direction as to ultimately what they're doing. They just apply their process to the account, and then it's just like, okay, well, what's going on here? Whereas you should sort of get comfortable, then really plan exactly what you're going to be doing, and then executing on these sorts of accounts, or with however much money you want to put in.
Yeah, exactly that. Like, again, like when I first kind of started doing it, I didn't have a trading plan, and that was probably one of my biggest mistakes. After obviously you've drummed it into the course a lot, and obviously talking to other people as well, like I made a plan for myself which suits my lifestyle and like the way that I want to trade. And it's been a game changer. Like I only trade like the London session, 3 trades per day, 3 losses per day. If I take 3 losses, I'm out. I'll take the day off, come back. If I think the market's not right, then it's the same thing. I'll come back to it when it's a better day. And I think like, the plan is definitely, you need that 100% when you get into these funding challenges, and especially when you get funded as well. You need to have those set of rules just to keep you going.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy just to sit and trade all day. It's so easy to do. So if you don't instill the discipline yourself, then the market's just going to let you trade all day. You have to realize that. So like the trading plan is imperative. I mean, if you were the best trader in the world, you could sit there and trade all day, and there's going to be money to be made. But ultimately, it's just a downward spiral. The longer you're in the market, the more time the market's got to take the money off of you. So that's what I always try and say, like, just get in, take what you need, trade objectively, and then just get out and move on.
Yeah, that's the best way. Like again, before I had my plan, I'd always be looking at my phone. If I was at work, I'd be looking at my phone, looking at the like charts. I'd set silly trades and I'd lose them. And like when I kind of realized what I was doing, and actually I don't need to do that to make money or make good money. I only need to trade in the morning, set like 1 or 2 trades, and I'm good. Yeah. And I find that obviously if I trade in the morning, like the London session, and I do that, every day, providing the markets are going well, then like the consistency is much better than making 1 massive percent. I'd rather take 5 little trades and get 3 or 5% than take 1 trade and get 10 and then lose another one for 9%.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think a lot of people think like they have these expectations that they have to be making lots of trades to make money. But I mean, in reality, especially when you're managing 100, 200K, let's say, you only really need to make maybe 1 or 2 good trades a month, and you're making very, very good money. We're talking like 5, 6, 7,000 pounds just from 1 or 2 trades.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I can remember my first payout, it wasn't massive. It was literally like 6.5 grand, but that's like 3.5 months of what my salary used to be.
Yeah.
And I've literally done about 6-7 hours worth of work on my Mac, looking at charts, where else to get that money I would have had to have done like 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like for anybody watching this, you don't need to make these massive percents. Like you said, you only need to trade 1 or 2 times a month to be comfortable once you get to that position to be able to do it. And I think it's imperative to just stay strict with what you're doing, keep to your plan, have an open mind, and just stay consistent, and then you will get there.
100%. And I want to touch on this as well. I mean, so many people trade so many pairs, right? I want to get your opinion on this. How many pairs do you trade?
2.
2. EU and GU?
Yeah. So predominantly for myself, like I normally just trade GU. but obviously I have noticed with how the both of these pairs work, that if GU's not really doing its thing, then normally EU is. And I think, like, you know, there's an abundance of money to be made off of those two pairs. You don't need to trade like 5 or 6 pairs or 10 pairs. You waste a lot of time doing that. Again, that was something I did. I had like 7 pairs to start off with, and I'd spend like an hour and a half going through the markets, you know, looking at the charts. And then when they would come into areas that I could trade from, I would have missed that because I was flicking through all the pairs.
Yeah.
So yeah, just trading the 2 pairs it's good for your mind. Like, it's less stress. You can see things a lot better, you know. And again, like I said, I still make good money and good R from just those 2 pairs.
Yeah, I mean, there's an abundance of opportunity every single day. Or pretty much every day there's some form of opportunity on one or the other. You just don't need to crowd your mind. You don't need to do anything on these other pairs. A lot of people really struggle to get their head around that. They're like, how can you make enough money just from trading 1 pair or 2 pairs? But again, like, how many people that have just said, as soon as I just focus on 1 pair, my trading literally changed completely.
Yeah, exactly. It's 100% true. You know, like my mindset was just so much better. You know, like, I didn't have any stress. Like, it's just, I could see things a lot clearer. And yeah, I think anybody that, you know, gets into trading and gets through this course and learns the strategies, they don't want to be trading all these pairs. Even just 1 pair, like GU's enough, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Perfect. So you're making insane progress. It's actually quite crazy. What's the next step for you then? Where are you looking to go next?
So the first thing for me, obviously, is to pass this next 100k challenge, so I can trade with 200k. And then once I get to that, I want to build that FDMA account up to 400 and keep trading like that. But my ultimate goal would to obviously get to have £1 million in funding, and then have, obviously, like, I'd like a couple of my own personal accounts, and I just want to put some money into it and leave there and just compound all the interest that I make from it. And then obviously I want to, I still work at the moment. I don't work as much, but I'd like to stop working, obviously do this completely free on my own. And to be honest, I just want to travel. Like, I'm going to look to go to Bali or Dubai hopefully next year, and then I'd like to, you know, invest my money into other things, maybe some like property or something, just to start the next level, you know.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I mean, the doors are now very much open. It's just about staying level-headed, staying consistent, building that capital, and it's exponential from here, really.
Exactly. Yeah, I just want to, you know, it's absolutely life-changing and game-changing being able to do this. So, you know, it's the same thing. Like, I've got to keep myself healthy, keep my mind healthy, and just keep setting goals and going to the next stage. Because I also find that if you stay on this one level and you're like, oh, you know, I'm funded now, I'm making money, it's going to stagnate. And, you know, you could go back the other way. So it's always good to keep chipping away at it.
100%. Well, that was a solid interview. I think there's some real gems in there for anybody listening. There's tons and tons of value that has been spilled today. Thank you for doing this interview. I think this is going to be a massive inspiration to a lot of people. But yeah, thank you very much, mate. Cheers.
No worries.